Other M, Issue 3. We start out seeing a mountain and then seeing someone holding a sword in front of their face. It's Antoine, who looks like he has an eye patch over the left eye when he's holding one of the swords, but the patch is gone again after he stands on his head, with Sonic watching with his arms crossed the whole time from outside in the rain. The other Antoine asks what Sonic wants resentfully. I guess those good feelings towards him from last issue ran out already. Sonic asks whose idea it was to stick him with the worst bunk in the world. Antoine admits with a smile that he had a heavy hand in it, and he says that Sonic did too. I guess Sonic said "mwah" to tease him. Antoine said that Sonic had a hand in it by being useless and provoking him. He explains that Bean thought those who contributed the most to the cause should have the best living conditions. Better than those who just ate their food. That's pragmatic of him. I can't imagine the normal freedom fighters would do that. Sonic asks for a wager, and Antoine says he doesn't have any more food rations to lose. Sonic calls him "my dear aunt," despite hating him, probably to tease him, and he says he's wagering him for better living space. Antoine gets angry, asking him to drop the aunt nickname, and Sonic says that if he wins the bet, he'll get his bunk and get the right to call him whatever he wants. But if Antoine wins, Sonic will have to call him Mr. Antoine Sir for the rest of their lives. Antoine washes his face with a fountain, and then gets threatened to a sparring match by Sonic. Sonic says that Bark will be the judge, and all the other freedom fighters can be witnesses. Antoine is confused at Sonic calling them freedom fighters. So they are bad guys? Sonic asks what they did go by, and Antoine says they were never organized enough to have an official name, despite clearly having a leader in the form of Bean. Antoine says with an evil smirk that he'll be ready in 5 minutes. In 10 minutes? What took them so long? We see them ready to fight, with them both agreeing that the rules of the match were no cheap shots. Also, they spelled Frere wrong. Sonic jumps over Antoine as he's getting out his sword, pokes him from behind, and runs around to punch him in the face, and then hits him in the back again, eventually sending him to the floor. Isn't that a cheap shot, though? Come to think of it, with Sonic's super speed, what wouldn't be cheap? Why does he even think that he could win against him? Antoine does manage to get one hit in, but Sonic spin dashes all around him and leaves his spin dash just to show off. All of that showing off just gave him time to prepare, as Antoine hits one of his spines off with a sword. Bean says that they should be using their energy to fight the Guardian and his Legion, not each other, and Bunny tells him that that's all they've been doing for months, reminding him of his arm. How's that a good argument against what he said? They're having fun, but they still risk injuring or killing one another. Antoine has a sword, remember? Bunny says that his arm is what the Spear of the Rebellion looks like. Bunny points out logically that the team is shell-shocked, being a bunch of child soldiers fighting against organic people for a common goal and not really knowing each other. So they wouldn't have bothered to become actual friends with each other in all that time of fighting? Bullshit. Bunny says that they just need a little rest as we see Sonic punch the metal front of Antoine's sword, which doesn't injure him somehow. Bunny says that watching this fight is at least rest for the teen spirits. Sonic kicks Antoine and logically wins the fight. Then he makes Antoine an offer, showing compassion, saying that there's no way he can sleep in his bunk and he'll get agoraphobic in this giant hole. Whatever he's talking about. He offers having a room together, and he says that whoever is up there first gets the mattress. That's not fair. Sonic will obviously get there first. Sonic asks him if he has a Sword of Acorns on him all of a sudden, and at first I thought Antoine was saying grenade in a pathetically failed attempt at French, but he's actually saying grenade. He dismisses that no, the Guardian has the Sword of Acorns. So that's where Flynn first had the idea to have Janica have access to it so easily. He already had the idea in mind that the Sword of Acorns could belong to the Guardians. It's kind of weird though, since it clearly says Acorns in the name, so it must have been stolen or a gift. Antoine says that he had his father's sword and was given it before he boarded the transport out of Metropolis to here. When Sonic asks why come out here, Antoine says that it's better to face the Guardian than Kodos. Oh good, they might make more use of Kodos as a character. Sonic looks stunned at learning that Kodos is the provincial vassal lord of the Metropolis province ever since the kingdom was invaded and the King Queen disappeared. Sonic needs to sit down at this and change the subject unhappily, rather than just taking it all in stride as someone carefree should, especially since this is an alternate dimension where anything could happen, and he's already used to a dimension where Robotnik made the King and Queen disappear himself, so this isn't really anything new. Antoine says that he's hoping his father is still alive and fighting to free Mercia of their vassal lord. who is Robin Hedge the King. Is he a Battle Lord or not? No mention of Robotnik yet, so that's fascinating. It's like it's a dimension where the world is ruled by various other villains being given the spotlight for a change, rather than just Robotnik mattering, and diminishing the other villains by making them his sub-bosses. Then Antoine asks Fiona what he can do for her. She says that Bean wants him and Antoine in the war room right away, and shows life to her character finally by snarking, "Think you can manage that?" although she has a blank facial expression. After Sonic jokes with Bean about being called a gentleman, the story ends with Bean saying he'll plan the next strike. This issue is by Ian Flynn, and with Antoine and Sonic engaging in a fight to get Sonic a better bedroom and therefore rank in the group, it was a pretty fun distraction of downtime between major plots by the heroes against bad guys, seeing Sonic give Antoine a well-deserved thrashing. Though aside from Vector being called evil and the heroes being persecuted, and since they try to blow people up, why wouldn't they be? At that point, it's not really persecution, now is it? Aside from that, we haven't really seen the Guardian or his Legion do anything wrong. At least with Robotnik, they took great care to establish that he's evil, had him ban music and everything. The fight has a giant plot hole in that it establishes no cheap shots, and then Sonic does one right away with his super speed. Not to mention Antoine uses a sword, which should kill him. Why would that even be allowed? I don't see why every bedroom wouldn't just be equally good instead of being discriminating against specific members of the group. Does he make bedrooms bad on purpose? It's really weird that they're just letting Antoine fight a member of their team with his swords. Wouldn't that just risk getting him fatally injured? At least give him a blunt weapon instead. And how is the fight fair if one of them has a weapon and the other doesn't? Also, Bunny's argument against Bean wasn't that articulate. While she's advising to let the group just have fun and not always focus on being freedom fighters, she was saying they do enough fighting, and yet she's advocating fighting between her friends. Bunny also says that they fight so much that they're a shell-shocked group of soldiers who hardly know each other, but there's no indication of the shell-shock part. At least with her, since she's so cheerful and stuff. The others all seem pretty harsh. And I call bullshit on them not knowing each other. I don't know, that seemed pretty hard to swallow. There's also some interesting development on the world, with Antoine explaining that the Sword of Acorns is in the Guardian's hands, Kodos is ruling Metropolis, and Robin Hedge is ruling Mercia, where Antoine's father is. Why his father didn't just come with him from Mercia since that's his son, I guess we'll never know. So far, this world seems a lot better than the Prime Zone since there's been no mention of robotization, but maybe legionization is a big thing instead. I don't know, we don't know any of the evil deeds that the villains do, so Sonic saying the world's messed up feels arbitrary at this point. Well, it is worse than his world, but he doesn't really know how it's actually worse yet. He's jumping to the conclusion way too fast just because it's a place he's unfamiliar with.